Guys, what's going on? I hope you guys are well. I hope you guys are staying safe. I hope everything is good wherever you guys are. So guys, there's a lot of talk about Errol Spence. Look, Errol Spence got a beat down against Terence Crawford. I think there's two ways about it. He got badly beaten. He was beat up, and it was a case where that was a impressive performance by Terence Bud Crawford. A lot of people were shocked at how one-sided it was. Stephen A. Smith has come out and said that he feels Errol Spence should look to retire. He should consider retirement. Now, he's not saying he should retire. He said he should consider. And look, he probably should, in the sense that I don't think Errol Spence should retire, but retirement should be a consideration. This is a man that's had a serious car crash, gone through a lot, and he's not had easy fights. He's had some tough fights along the way. Porter was a very tough fight. You know, this fight, I mean, this type of beatdown, that's like 5 fights, because he got bashed up. He got badly bashed up. I mean, if you look at him, his face was like he's been hit by, like, you know, a guy with a spade. I mean, constantly. I mean, the way he got beaten up in that fight was bad. And like I said, and especially with what he's gone through in his life, I can understand that statement. Errol Spence probably could consider retirement, because that was serious. That wasn't a normal beat. That was a bad beatdown. That was. So what Stephen A. Smith is saying is not wrong by any stretch. You know, Errol Spence got beat up in that fight really badly, and it was a bad beating. So for anyone to say that what Stephen is saying is outfetched and he's talking nonsense, no, he's right. He's right, because in boxing, it's very dangerous. And this is a guy, like I said, that's not had it, like, he's been involved in stuff outside of the ring that has, like people can't believe how he survived that car crash. And can you imagine if the car crash was that bad? Can you imagine the physical damage that he would have occurred? Like, we saw some of the pictures would look horrific, but like, even mentally, you don't know what impact that's going to have later on in his life. Like, right now, he's young. He's like 33, 34. That's not that bad. When you get to like 64, 54, that's when the implications start showing on your body, you know? And look, a lot of people are saying, you know, Errol Spence is showing, like, his face is glassy. I mean, he's showing sign of a punch. He's punch drunk. Like, look, man, these guys get checked out by top doctors. You know, they wouldn't be fighting if there was a serious issue. So all the stuff people come out with afterwards and stop, like these guys are getting checked out by doctors. They don't fight. They you know, if they don't pass a medical, they can't fight. So it's not like Errol Spence is going in the ring without being checked by top doctors and they're just allowing it. You know, there's you know, you have to pass a certain medical test in order to get into the ring. It's not a case that, like, there's fighters that have had to retire, you know, that probably haven't had anywhere near or had some sort of issue, and they've not been able to box. Didn't it happen with one guy? I can't remember his name. Can't remember. Was it Cash Farouk? I can't remember. I can't remember who it was, but someone had some issue. I think a Scottish fighter. And he had to retire, you know, because of the fact that he had some kind of brain issue. I don't know, some sort of issue. So you can't just go in and box without, you know, permission of doctors. So yeah, so I think Errol Spence, after that performance, and most importantly, I know Errol Spence is going to move up to 154. I think now the fight between him and Canelo is not going to happen, because that was a fight that they thought could happen, but the fight was so one-sided between him and Crawford. I mean, the Canelo fight would be disastrous at this point, because Canelo could seriously do more damage. I mean, Canelo could if you're wobbling like that, and look, some people may say it was because of the weight. If you're wobbling like that against Crawford, Canelo's going to put you to sleep. So because if you look at it, the reason why Spence Canelo was being touted, because there's not much super fight. I don't think Spence is going to fight Charlo, right? So what fight is there for him out there at 154 that's going to be a super fight? None. There isn't any big fights out there. Now, if he wants to create a legacy and want to go and collect belts at 154, but again, Crawford's going to be there. Crawford's going to move up because he's achieved everything at 147 now. He's become undisputed. So really, what is there? Like, don't get me wrong, Errol Spence might want the Crawford fight at 154, but if he loses to Crawford again, then at 154, then retirement should definitely be consideration, because then Crawford is going to look to clean up. And it clearly shows that Errol Spence ain't beating Crawford. So Crawford is probably going to be the guy that wins the titles or has a, you know, he's going to be the guy. So if you've lost to him twice, emphatically, then, you know, your career is effectively done, because that's the guy you're going to have to meet if you're going to win a title. And Errol Spence isn't there to make up the numbers. Errol Spence is a guy, you know, he's not going to turn out, he's not going to end up being like Adrian Broner. I don't think so. I think Adrian Broner at a certain point has accepted where he's at. But I don't think Errol Spence is about that. I don't think Errol Spence is going to want to be there just to make up the numbers. Because effectively, if he loses to Crawford again, that's what he's going to be. He's going to be a guy that's probably going to be eventually, you know, be used. His name's going to be used for an up-and-coming kid. So I definitely think maybe the rematch, like, I don't think the rematch makes sense, but how one-sided it was and the fact that he could get hurt again and he's going to take some more damage. But at the sense, like, if he like, that's a big fight still, right? Because you can sell it and say that, well, look, he fought at that weight, and unfortunately, you know, he wasn't in the right, you know, the weight was an issue and he was drained, etc. You can make that excuse. But if he loses again at 154, then there's no excuse. And if he performs like that and he wobbles like that, then it's just a case where, whoa, this guy, he needs to retire, because, you know, his punch resistance is gone. Because his punch resistance looked like it'd gone. Like, he didn't have no punch resistance. And if his punch resistance is like that again, then obviously he's got to start asking serious questions, you know, whether he can continue, because you can't be fighting top fighters with a punch resistance and wobbling. You know, some of those shots were like, don't get me wrong, they were big shots, don't get me wrong, but they weren't shots that you would expect someone like Errol Spence, a guy that has shown a pretty good chin and taken some good shots throughout his career, to wobble off and get dropped. This isn't a guy that you expect to be dropped like 3 or 4 times, because he's a guy that's shown pretty solid chin throughout his career. So it's surprising to me that he was getting wobbled and hurt so badly. So hopefully Errol Spence can sort out his issue. Hopefully Errol Spence can, you know, perform better at 154. But if he can't, then definitely I think he should consider Stephen A's right. You know, I don't think Stephen A. Smith meant it meant it like, you know, in a bad way. I just think he's probably looking out for Errol Spence, because, you know, after seeing that was a devastating knockout, man. Devastating beating. And anyone seeing that cares for Errol Spence, that genuinely cares for Errol Spence, would be like, nah, man, he's got to look out for his health, because that was a beatdown, man. That's not something that should be taken lightly, because he got really badly beaten in that fight, you know. And it was his facial expressions even after the fight, he looked distraught, he looked in a bad way. It was horrible, man. It was horrible, you know. And I like Spence a lot. Like, I like Spence. I think Spence is a brilliant fight. I think he's done well. But at the end of the day, what I saw there, I couldn't believe. I was shocked. I was shocked because I wasn't expecting this. I wasn't expecting Spence to get completely wiped out like that. And I don't think anyone was. Like, some people expected Crawford to win. I even said I think Crawford will stop him. But I wasn't expecting that. I wasn't expecting him to get beat down like that, you know, and get dropped so many times and, like, literally not even be in the fight. Apart from the first round, Spence weren't in the fight. So that for me was really startling, you know. And because Spence never showed me anything in his career that would suggest that he would go in there and get totally washed. And Crawford, in certain fights, didn't show that he would go in there and totally wash Spence. You know, we knew how good Crawford was, but I didn't expect him at this level, because Crawford himself knew that he was stepping up to that next level against Spence, because Spence was that guy. But he literally washed Spence like he washed everybody else. I mean, Spence was no tougher than any other fight he had. Spence was no tougher than a washed-up Khan. Spence was no tougher than a washed-up Brook. Spence was no tougher than... I would actually say Brook did very well. You know, I would say Brook did very, very well compared to what Spence did. You know, so it's surprising. And not just that, Kavaliauskas. Look how well he did, even Jeff Horn. When you look back at their performances and you think, wow, like, they actually did better than what Spence did. Like, Spence did not a lot in that fight. I mean, he was totally dominated. I don't even think Crawford was... Like, Crawford was literally in the corner this is how dominant he was. He literally had no mark on him. He literally wasn't even breathing heavy. It was like he's gone for a jog. Like, he wasn't even breathing. Like, Spence looked in a bad way, and this guy in the other corner is just sitting there like nothing's happened to him. He's just normal. And this is what's crazy for me about that fight, that how easy it was for Crawford. It was scary. But yeah, leave your thoughts. Let me know what you think in the comment section below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.